When most homeowners in Henderson County picture the person who's going to buy their home, they may imagine a family. Maybe a couple in their 30s, two kids, getting pre-approved for a mortgage, stretching to make those numbers work. And sometimes that is exactly who buys. But right now, in the 28739 zip code, more than 1 in 3 home sales is closing in cash. No mortgage, no financing contingency, no appraisal risk. Just a buyer who shows up with the full amount. Today, we're going to tell you who that buyer actually is, where they're coming from, and what it means for you as a seller in this market.
We're Ryan and Suzanne with the LivePlay WNC real estate team. We've helped homeowners all across Henderson County sell their homes using our pre-home selling system, a process we built specifically for this market to help sellers get prepared, get their home in front of the right buyers, and keep every dollar they've earned on the table.
And everything we do starts with one thing, knowing exactly what's happening in this market right now. Not national headlines, not last quarter's data. What is actually happening in Henderson County and in that 28739 zip code today? Because that's what helps you make a smart decision about one of the biggest financial moves of your life.
Let's start with the number that stops most sellers in their tracks when we share. In the 28739 zip code, based on April 2026 data, 6 out of 16 closed sales were cash transactions. That's near 38%. National research of home buyers and sellers puts the all-cash buyer share at 26%, already a record high. And Henderson County is running above that.
And it's not a fluke. This has been a consistent pattern in this market. The reason matters as much as the number. Cash buyers in Henderson County are not primarily investors looking to flip properties or landlords buying rentals. The dominant cash buyer profile here is something much more specific and much more favorable for sellers.
What we're seeing is equity-rich buyers arriving from higher-priced market. Someone who bought a home in Atlanta suburbs 15 years ago, watched it appreciate significantly, sold it, and is now arriving in Henderson County with the proceeds. Or a couple who sold a home in South Florida during the pandemic boom and have been sitting on those gains waiting for the right place to land. They don't need a mortgage because they already have the money.
For you as a seller, a cash buyer means something very specific. It means no financing contingency, no risk of the deal falling through because a lender changed their mind, no appraisal that comes in under contract price and blows up the negotiation. Cash buyers close, and in this market, that certainly has real value.
The second buyer profile we want to talk about is the retirement and pre-retirement buyer. This is the largest and most active segment of the Henderson County market right now that we're seeing, and most sellers don't fully appreciate how deliberate and well-prepared these buyers are.
The National Association of Realtors 2025 data tells part of the story. The median age of repeat buyers nationally is now 62, the highest ever recorded. In Henderson County, where 26% of residents are already over age 65 and the median age is 47, this skews even more pronounced. The retirement buyer is not a niche. They are the market.
And this buyer has done their homework before they ever contact an agent. We're talking about people who have spent months, sometimes years, researching where they want to spend the next chapter of their lives. They've visited, they've stayed in Airbnbs in the area, they've eaten on Main Street in Hendersonville, they've driven that Blue Ridge Parkway. By the time they call us, they've already decided they want to be here. The question is just which neighborhood and which home.
There is a specific pattern within the retirement buyer category that we constantly see here in Henderson County. It's sometimes called that half-back buyer. And these are people typically in their late 50s, late 60s who retired to Florida first. Maybe they wanted that warm weather or beach access and that whole Florida retirement picture. But then a few years in, they started realizing that maybe they want something different, cooler summers, mountain views, or a community that feels a little bit more like a neighborhood than a tourist attraction. So they move halfway back north. And Western North Carolina is one of the most common spots to land.
These buyers arrive financially ready. They typically sold a Florida home in a market that appreciated dramatically during the pandemic years. Many of them are the cash buyers we just talked about. They move decisively once they find the right property, and they are not playing games with some crazy offers. They know what things cost in the markets they came from, and Henderson County looks like value to them even at current pricing.
Here's where this gets directly useful for sellers, because once you understand who your buyer is, you can understand what they're looking for and make sure your home speaks to them. The retirement and equity-rich buyer came into this market primarily motivated by square footage. They are not trying to maximize space. They are optimizing for lifestyle, quality, and ease of living.
So single-level living is a significant priority for this buyer pool. Homes with the primary bedroom on the main floor, minimum stairs, open floor plans. These are features that command a premium with this buyer profile in a way they simply don't with younger family buyers, as an example.
Condition matters enormously. This buyer is not looking for a project. They are done with projects. They want to walk in, feel good about the home, and not have a mental list of things that they're going to need to fix in their first year. This is exactly why the enhanced phase of our peak system The pre-inspection, staging, and professional photography is so important right now. You are not staging for a generic buyer. You are staging for a buyer who has the means to be selective and the experience to know what deferred maintenance looks like behind fresh paint.
Location and lifestyle access are top priorities. Proximity to good medical facilities matter to this buyer more than proximity to schools or a specific school district. Walkability to restaurants and shops in downtown areas, the drive time to the airport, these are the factors they're weighing, and Henderson County checks most of those boxes better than many comparable neighboring markets.
A mountain view in this market is not just an aesthetic feature, it's a pricing variable. Buyers coming from flat urban markets will pay meaningfully more for a home with a long-range mountain view than for a comfortable home without one. If your home has that, it needs to be front and center in how it's marketed.
So let's pull this together into something actionable. If your buyer is likely to be a cash buyer or a retirement buyer in this zip code, your selling strategy should reflect that. A few specific implications here.
First, pricing has to be grounded in current data. The retirement buyer is experienced and patient. They have seen enough real estate in enough markets to know when something is overpriced. They will not stretch for a home that feels expensive relative to comparable options. Price it right and they move quickly. Price it high and then they just move on.
The second thing is presentation is non-negotiable. This buyer is comparing their home to other options and more in the market now than we've had. And they've researched extensively, possibly across multiple markets. A home that shows well and that feels clean, well-maintained, and move-in ready closes the deal. A home that shows its age and deferred maintenance gives an experienced buyer a reason just to negotiate a lot or simply walk away.
And third, the marketing needs to reach them where they are. A retirement buyer from Atlanta or Miami is not driving through Horseshoe on a Saturday and spotting your yard sign. They are watching YouTube videos about Henderson County. They're on Zillow or Realtor.com. They are getting targeted content about this market. They're platforms that know their searching behavior. That reach is built into the accelerated phase of our peak system, and it's specifically why we build marketing around the migration patterns driving buyers into this area.
The bottom line is this: your buyer pool is stronger, more financially capable, and more motivated than most sellers realize. That cash buyer rate in the zip code is nearly 40%. The retirement buyer is the dominant profile in this market right now. These are not hesitant, contingency-heavy buyers who need everything to go perfectly to get to a closing. But they are decisive buyers with real money who have chosen this area deliberately. As an asset you should feel good about.
So if you've been sitting on the fence about selling because you weren't sure that there was a strong buyer out there for your home, we hope this gives you a clearer picture. More than 1 in 3 sales in the zip code is closing in cash. That is a motivated, capable buyer pool by any measure.
If you want to understand specifically what your home looks like through the eyes of that buyer, what they love about it, what they'd flag, and what it would take to position it to get their best offer, that is exactly the conversation we have in our initial seller consultation. The link below will take you to our calendar to schedule one. No pressure, just a straightforward conversation.
So please like and subscribe if you want to keep up with what's happening in the market every month. And if you're ready, let's get you on the path to sold.